Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, we're going to be going over Tesla, going over the markets, and just essentially going over all of that stuff. So as usual, we have a pretty interesting week in store for us. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, especially if you find it useful, helpful, informative, or whatever. And of course, I am not a financial advisor. Make your own decisions, do your own research. This is not financial advice. This is just purely for entertainment. A bit of out of breath, just finished the workout, but all that being said and done, Tesla with a pretty rough day today, closing down 6.2%, putting us at about $194.61. So yeah, a pretty brutal day. So we'll discuss what happened. Shout out to all the people that were calling me crazy for thinking Tesla's getting close to topping over here. I did think there's room for higher. I did think it could go as high as 215, and I want to make it very clear. I actually still think it's possible. But shout out to all the people that were saying that Tesla deliveries and whatnot coming out this, yesterday or the weekend on Friday, we're just going to propel to like 240. Yeah, so we're down 6%. But all that being said and done, it is what it is, right? So, as we talked about on Friday, right, we did say that, Tesla, even though this move was surprising, how, usually, especially a move like that into like the news, which in this case was over the weekend, a run up into the news, is, it's very likely for it to be a buy the rumor, sell the news type event. And that's exactly what we saw today, because not only did we give up all of the gains on Friday, but then we went even further than that, right? So just keep that in mind, right? Like I said, it's extremely common. Like seeing this kind of run up into something like deliveries, a lot of people think, oh, it's bullish. Someone knows something, guys, that, they have to know something. Again, you can't completely eliminate that possibility. Yeah, that could have been a possibility. But more often than not, again, trading, stocks, etc., it is all probability. It's not about being right all the time and like never being wrong. Like you're insane if you think that's possible. It's all about, number one, being at least right more often than wrong, ideally if you can. But even more importantly, I would argue, it's not even about how often you're right. It's more about how often you strike. You know what I mean? So it's not even about like, it's about waiting for the right moment, I guess, is more often than not the better play, I guess. Anyway, but that's kind of the idea I'm talking about here, right? So more often than not, like I said with Tesla, like 7 or 8 out of 10 times, it's usually a buy the rumor, sell the news, especially if it's quite literally rallying like, what was it, like 6% on Friday into something like deliveries over the weekend. Just very suspicious behavior. But nonetheless, we did pretty much more or less crash today, again, over 6%, which is a pretty sizable move to the downside. Now, most importantly, you can see, obviously, we did close below the 200 price target, or not price target, but price range. Sorry, I literally just finished my gym. I'm a little bit out of breath. But so we closed below that, and you can see the 1 hour candle. As the market opened, it did try to push up ahead, right? Push up, kind of maintain that above or greater than 200 level. And essentially came back up to this level again, and it got rejected pretty much at that level exactly once again. Couldn't even fill the gap, right? So that's pretty bad. The fact that it couldn't even go up to fill the gap and it got rejected this hard and then pretty much crashed below 200 is not a great sign. So we're pretty much back to this situation right here, right? This right here. We're pretty much right back to that square one area where, again, it pretty much comes down to, what comes first, right? Does Tesla happen to once again break above 200, and then do we get something like this, except this time maybe actually finally go all the way up to 210, 215? That's a possibility. Again, does it break 200? Most important thing, as you can see, massive rejection here today. So if we can somehow close above 200, like a 1 hour candle, and actually look like it's starting to hold above it, as opposed to kind of going above it for a little bit and then just collapsing back under, kind of like what it did this morning, where you can see on the 15-minute it kind of went above it, kind of held ish, and then kind of just went right below it, right? 30-minute couldn't even hold, right? Again, the longer the duration of the candle that holds above or below a certain level, the more like weight, I guess, that holds, right? The more it means, the more meaningful it is, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So keep that in mind, guys. That's very, very important, right? So that's number one, right? I'll be looking to see if it can actually do that. I do think there's a chance that it comes up to 200 one more time and potentially retest it or something along the lines of that, kind of like what it did over here. Absolutely a possibility, but again, we're pretty much back in limbo land. Now, again, I personally didn't enter any shorts over here. Like I said, I was waiting for 215. But what I did was I did enter 2 cash secured puts today. One pretty much at market open, just in case it actually did bounce up and go up for the gap fill. And one I sold pretty much at the price it closed out right here, right now, as well, right? And I sold them for, again, the 21st of April. 175 puts for the 21st of April is what I sold. I sold 2 of those things today, right? And I'm holding those. So, if we go sideways, if we don't really do a whole lot, if we go up to 200, whatever, I don't really care. Even if we come down to that level and I'm forced to buy those shares, I'm perfectly okay with that. And that's when I will start slowly again, like I said before, averaging down level by level, right? I'm not in a rush. I don't think Tesla's going to skyrocket anywhere. I don't think this is any situation at all to be FOMOing into any stock, really, at least not like a tech stock in my opinion, especially after the recent run up in the markets overall. You can see SPY is actually surprisingly, so relative to the market, Tesla is substantially underperforming, but SPY potentially setting up a bearish pattern here. We have a head and shoulders potential here. We're retesting this yellow line breakdown that we had a while ago from here, you can see. So that's a potential retest right here. So we'll see what that comes up to, right? Again, if SPY and the QQQ start crashing, that's, you know, probably not good news for Tesla. That will be kind of weight holding it down, right? You also have to consider that. The one thing I don't like right now is the VIX is just showing some substantial weakness. Like it's just really looking for a bounce. Like if it does bounce, I mean, I still think it can go down to about 18, which if it does, that will give the market potentially a little bit more room to go up. But like I am definitely starting to look for the VIX to potentially bounce, like really like anytime from here to like, I don't know, like any day now, essentially is what I'm trying to say. Like I'm looking for a bounce here very, very soon. And again, keep in mind, guys, whenever the VIX bounces, so in other words, the VIX, you know, goes up, market usually goes down, and vice versa, right? So keep that in mind, very, very important. You know, and that's of course going to affect Tesla, you know, positively or negatively, of course, depending on how, you know, the market and or VIX performance, right? So that's always important to consider and remember. Now, so moving over to Tesla back once again, you can see as we did collapse the RSI did go pretty low, right? We're pretty much testing these levels almost over here, even though Tesla is still well above this level. So, you know, it's starting to show a little bit of weakness. It's not looking too strong. But like I said, as long as Tesla is below 200, I'm bearish. But as long as on the flip side, it's above kind of 187 to 185, I'm also bullish. What does that mean? That means that this whole region right here is, to me, limbo land. And until it breaks out of these zones, again, in either direction, I am, for the most part, more neutral than I'm actually leaning towards any direction, like heavily, right? I am still more bearish than bullish, but it's not heavier, more, like I'm not substantially more bearish than bullish, right? It's like maybe 60-40 bearish, bullish respectively. Again, personally, until we break out of this range, once again, this was a false breakout, and this was a false breakout. Well, at least from this little channel that we're in. But again, until we are breaking this range once again to the upside or to the downside, I don't think Tesla is worth trading in a sense of like buying calls or something like that. The only thing that's worth trading, in my opinion, is selling calls, because if Tesla essentially just does this for the next, let's say 2 weeks, for example, just again, a rough example, but let's say Tesla just literally does nothing and goes up and down between 200 and 185 for like the next week or two, sold options are fantastic here, because all it's doing is essentially just theta decaying the living crap out of those calls or puts or, you know, whatever it is, right? Just very, very important, right? It's on your side. The stock essentially going sideways. That's good for you, especially if you sold it on some, at least some volatility, which in this case, Tesla being down 6%, cash secured puts, get a little bit juiced off of that, which is what I did. So that's kind of the main thing I'm noticing and kind of, you know, waiting for as of right now, right? But ultimately, again, I do think it's still more bearish than bullish, but not substantially. And until I see something substantially more obvious that really tells me like, man, this thing is really, really ready to crash or really ready to rocket, I'm overall like neutral bias for now. But again, because it's getting rejected here, because it couldn't even gap fill this morning, the gap that it left, of course, upon market open, because it couldn't do any of that, that does, for me at least, show more signs of weakness than strength. And the fact that this potentially was overall an absolute bull trap as it came back into this channel and then got rejected by the channel today. Moving over to 21 EMA, we're still holding above that thing, so that's, you know, still a decent sign. That means, you know, again, more reason to still be neutral. The Bollinger Band is, you know, slowly getting tighter, you know, not, it could still get tighter, absolutely, but you know, it's definitely getting a little bit tighter here, right? So we'll see what that comes over to, right? We have earnings coming up, so I would expect the market to kind of be neutral until real earnings start hitting, like, you know, the big daddy ones like Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, even, you know, things like that, AMD, and NVIDIA, you know, all those things. Once they start hitting with their earnings, Microsoft, right, whatever, that's when the market can potentially start getting some serious swings happening. The 100-day moving average is down there. We have the 50-day moving average not far below us, actually, right? So that's very important to consider. Even more reason why this kind of 187-ish level, give or take a few points, is extremely vital and crucial. So that's number one. And of course, we have the 10-day moving average, which we are closing just barely above it. And of course, above us, we have the 200-day moving average, which again, usually when a stock is below the 200-day moving average, it is overall more net bearish than bullish by a decent margin as well. So this to me is probably the most crucial level to look for, especially if you're a bull, because if you want Tesla to have any chance of potentially like finally finding some true life within it and breaking really like convincingly, if you will, above like this kind of low 200 level, you absolutely needed to start closing above the 200-day moving average. As long as it's below this, that's not a good sign for the bulls, and definitely a better sign for the bears overall. So just keep that in mind as well, ladies and gentlemen. But ultimately, guys, again, like I said, the main thing I'm waiting for is to see which direction it breaks through, whether it's 200, whether it's this kind of 187-ish level, and then from there we'll determine. If it breaks above 200, I still personally think 210 to 215 is absolutely in the cards. If it breaks below this kind of 187, 185 or so level, that's when I think this fall finally commences, and at the very least will come down to about this 167-ish level, if not finally to my main like true like juicy price target of around that 150 give or take-ish level as well, with this massive gap down here. But that's kind of the main thing I am personally looking at right now and looking for. And again, all I'm doing right now is just slowly nibbling on cash secured puts and hopefully just letting this volatility juice up the premium, while also probably having some sideways action potentially, if not even going up, to kind of, you know, bank on this premium that I am going to be most likely collecting. Whether I'll let it expire on the 21st of April and just collect the full premium, or if you do get a rally up to somewhere above at these levels, not only will I be, once again, like I said here yesterday or on Friday, I did close out half my cash secured position, pretty much almost at the top of this candle, which felt very good. If we come up here again to 210 roughly, I will do that once again, and then 215, I will fully close out all of the positions I have that are bullish, aka cash secured puts, and then I'll most likely be entering bought puts, right? Buy to open puts. So that's my current strategy, and if we fall, I will just continue at levels selling cash secured puts as we continue making our way down. So that's kind of what I'm seeing, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.